Hi everybody. Just want to send out hugs and love. It's a bit like Groundhog Day, isn't it? Yeah. So I had some ideas today, and I'll cover off some things that I've found out today as well. The first thing I actually mentioned it the other day when it started off because I saw something on the news about the children without technology, because there's something like 35% of the children that are at home don't have any technology at the moment, and then they're not getting contacted by schools or being missed by social services. So then I was thinking, well, how can we, how can they get access to technology? So I thought, okay, so I'll search libraries, see if they're open for a start. And then I phoned the university library, and just to see if they would, because they're open 24 hours, and to see if they would just to find out if they would allow other people into the university library. That was a resounding no, because they've already had to take out half of their computers because of the guidelines, and they're also only open to certain subjects as well. So only certain subjects are allowed to use the libraries. Obviously medicine being one. But then that just also makes a mockery of universities, surely, because people are paying £9,000 a year to go to university. First of all, they were locked in halls. They're having to pay rent, but are, they're not getting any kind of university experience. And also, they're not even allowed to use the library. Only a few subjects are. So surely these kids should get refunded their fees, or a portion of it, because they're not getting any kind of university experience which is what they signed up for. Additionally, if all the first years that are stuck in halls, or maybe even at home because of lockdowns, they deserve a rent rebate, because they're paying for halls and they aren't even in them. And I know that there is a university, I think it's, I can't remember now, I did see it. There is one that has done it. So really they've kind of set the bar on that. Sorry. I do this every time, sorry. Whatever. Switch off. Yeah. So they deserve some money back for sure. And because one university has already done it, they've kind of set a precedent. So other students should be looking to try and get a rebate on their halls of residence for sure. So that was one thing. Oh yeah, and so that then led me to libraries are open though, for students, other small libraries, but obviously they've got the same technology issue. They've had to because of social distancing and 2 meters and. So one of the ladies that I was speaking to on the phone, she was saying that she had some old laptops that she had in her house, and she was going to donate them. I was like, that's a brilliant idea, because I just earlier in the day been upstairs and seen mine needs some work doing for sure, like wiping or whatever, but I've got like 4 old laptops upstairs, and I was thinking, actually I've got like an old tablet, I've got a couple of old like not old but like that aren't being used, a couple of old TVs, little TVs, a couple of old phones, and again old, I say old, not old like, do you know what I mean? So anyways, that was mulling over in my head. And then today there was this chap on Sky News called Preem, and he has done this exact thing. So he has a company called Wedding Tuk Tuk. So he actually hires out a tuk-tuk thing, little van for weddings. But obviously he's not doing that at the moment. He's an ex-IT consultant. So he put a note out saying that he was going to collect old people, any old technology that people had lying around the house, and he would then do like a little update on it or whatever, and then it's wiped and usable, and to be able to donate to anyone that needs one. So I gave Preem a call, and he's a total ledge. And so firstly, he's going to show me how to do mine. But then beyond that, we were like, right, I was saying, why don't we set up a little, charity thing? So we can set up, so he's doing it, he's in Peterborough, and he's already done a couple of people have said that they would be interested to learn from him to do the technology, and they would be able to do it in their little area. So they'd be able to collect the laptops and then do the little update and the wipe, and then give those to children that need them in their area. So so then obviously we were chatting, and so I've now created a website, and I'm going to be sending that link. I'll put it in here as well. So anyone that wants to either has technology of any description, old phone, tablet, laptop, that is just sat around, because I've discovered I'm a massive hoarder. I've basically been hoarding since 1998, and I have got all these things just lying about. I'm sure like loads of people do. So so to collect the technology, and or if people have any kind of technical skills that would be interested in volunteering their time to do the wipe it and update it or whatever, so that they're ready to use, because he's going to do a little weekly webinar on how to do it, because obviously he can't do it all himself. So I've done that today. I've set up a website for that, and obviously I'll put that in the link. So anyone that has technology or would be interested in learning how to do it, because Patty said it's dead easy. It takes about half an hour. But obviously, you need to be quite, technical. I'm about as far away as you get from technical, but I'm willing to give it a go. Yeah, and then I thought, where could we get as a drop-off point? You know what I mean? Like, where would be the only places that bloody open are shops, isn't it? So, supermarkets. So, I phoned up. This is going to go off on a slight tangent, but it doesn't matter. I phoned up Morrison's, Asda, and Tesco's, and none of them answered the phone. Yeah. So this is I'm going to tag them in this as well. So this is a shout out to supermarkets to see if you would be willing to be collection points for technology donations. As it appears that everybody has gone so far along this AI robot route in terms of their answering phones, it is beyond frustrating. It's beyond frustrating not being able to speak to somebody, particularly at this time. You know what I mean? I never call any like that anyway, and it's the same. And this is where I'm going on a tangent, because banks do it as well. You know, when you or phone company actually with the automated line. Oh, how annoying! You end up on hold for like 40 minutes, just waiting. Then you answer someone, you answer all your security questions, go through all that rigmarole. Then they put you on hold, and if you're lucky, if you don't get cut off, someone else will answer, and then they'll ask you the same stupid questions again. And this can go on for some time. I swear they're doing it on purpose just to wind us up. Because there's nothing more frustrating. Because people don't generally call unless they've got a problem. And then to have to go through all of that, it's like pressing on people's buttons. And those poor people that answer the phone, it's not their fault. They're just part of the system. But the system is most assuredly broken. So that's where I'm at with those things. What else is there? Oh, there's quite a bit. Oh yeah, so I watched this thing about the trade agreements, right? Honestly. So there's this whole thing about they're like secretly doing deals with people. The government is secretly doing deals with people. They're not letting Parliament have a vote on it or check on it or anything like that. They're just rolling these things through. Yeah. Including ones with countries that have less than desirable human rights. What's the word? Background. You know what I mean? Policies. For example, in the last 2 weeks, a trade deal has been done with Egypt, Kenya, Cameroon, with the ability to do and add in extras from South Sudan and Batunde or something like that, all of which have human rights issues, and with regards to modern slavery. So these trade deals have been done, and nobody's voted. Nobody's voted on them. They've just been pushed through, and that is obviously dangerous. There's also there was also the what's his name? Chief Inspector. That's it. Chief Inspector Justin Russell. Right, so obviously, as part of the lockdown restrictions, the courts closed, didn't they? In the first lockdown. Obviously, crimes just continued. So the courts shut down. All of those cases have not been heard. Crimes have continued, so it means that the number of cases has just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, including murders, rapes. I mean, it's just all of the crimes, all of them. The worst ones. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like fraud. I mean, there's been 220 odd million cyber fraud in the last year. A 44% increase. So these people are either out on bail, or they are begins with P. It's late, bear with me. Not probation. No, it's gonna come to me in a minute. Additionally, probation. So these are people. So like, and I'd like to add at this point, there are a lot of people that I'm really only concerned with the murderers and rapists and paedophiles, and because a lot of people make mistakes, and particularly at this time here, and there also is a lot of crimes that shouldn't be crimes that people are being, put in prison for. I'm going to go. I've got a whole section on crime and punishment. I'll go on to that in a minute. But it is not good. And he was basically saying that some of these cases will, and you got to bear in mind the victims of those crimes they're kind of in no man's land. You know what I mean? Because they're not getting justice. And even worse, if that person is out and about walking the streets as well. So yeah. So, and add that. So you got the fear. Add that fear. Because they'll, depending on what it is, on top of everything else. And it's just drag, it's nothing worse than something dragging on like that. You know what I mean? We should have swift justice. The whole justice system needs to be looking at. Yeah, so yeah. I'll go back to that in a minute. So then I watched it, and then I watched this thing about the commercial leasing rents, right? So these people, particularly, obviously it gets more expensive in town centres, and then also more expensive the further down south you go. But just commercial rents in general, a lot of these places have not been given any let up. They've been charged 100% rent all the way through. How unfair is that? Like, these people are on their knees. So there's a couple of things, because a lot of the commercial rent spaces are owned by pension funds or international private investors, or just multiple people with multiple commercial properties in the UK. And then they are managed by management companies who are incentivized to, like bailiffs, essentially, but for property, to collect that rent in full, or they threaten eviction. And obviously these people are struggling. And I think that my overall feeling on this, having watched it, was that they really need to, having received 100% of commercial rent rates, which are the highest all year, whilst those people that are in those spaces have been forced to close. I think that you need to ask yourself if you've got a soul. You know what I mean? Because that's just fucking cruel. And whenever they have rent reviews, they only ever go up every year. There's no consideration of the affordability of the rent and the revenue of the business that's in the space. And Robert Jenrick of Newark fame, whoop whoop, he's supposed to be doing a report, but not until December. Well, that's no fucking good, is it? Yeah. So, firstly, the management companies need to back the fuck off. Secondly, international owners of these properties / pension funds / big commercial rent property, you need to just chill the fuck out. Like, you've had 100% of rent for the last year whilst these businesses have been closed. I think you can take a little minute to maybe, I don't know, review it and consider reducing it for the next 6 months so that you still have somebody in there. Otherwise, if you go through the rigmarole of trying to evict them, you're only going to cost yourself 6 months anyway before you get somebody else in there. If you get someone else in there at all, let's face it. So you both lose. Right. Oh, yeah. And then I don't know, what was it? Somebody mentions, it's about antibiotics. I've just got one of these brains right about now where every single thing, if there's something I don't know, I'm looking it up. So whatever it is, if it jumps out at me, I'm looking it up. So they're talking about antibiotics and how we're starting to be immune to them. How about if we ate healthily, exercised, watched what we were consuming, mind, body, and soul, I think you'll find we wouldn't need them anyway. But old Jim Ratcliffe of Ineos fame, the chemical manufacturer, he's decided that he wants to fund 100 million research into antimicrobials. Now, antimicrobials are synthetic alternatives. Just gonna say, old Jimmy Jim. No. We don't need no chemicals no more, mate. You've made your billions. I think you need to back the fuck off. These people, pharmaceutical companies, chemical companies, petrol, oil, plastic, synthetic materials. All of you guys are destroying the planet and all of the people in it. Just saying. So, then there was saying, right, so like with Brexit, and then there's all the problems with the supply chains and taxes and the amount of checks. So then the lorry drivers, logistics companies are reporting that they get having to check like 3 or 4 times. This is not to do with COVID, this is to do with other paperwork and stuff. They're having to be checked like 3 or 4 times before they even get out of the country. This is just at the border. The same information. That's a waste of everyone's time. Number 1. Number 2, it seems to me that all that Brexit has done is cause problems and is causing issues with the supply chains on both sides. 3, import and export. And this is just from reading this book. Right? The ultimate finance resource. This is like a Bible for all things finance across countries. Now, import and export sounds like a great idea. Yeah. But think about it. All we're doing is giving away our money to other countries and other people. And this is no offense to those countries and people because they're also doing it. But it's obviously to specific people. Yeah. Contracts to specific people for specific reasons so that they make the money. Yeah. In addition, it is just another method of being taxed. Taxation on both sides. And where does that tax money go? It goes to the government. But do the government put it back into the public services? No, they do not. So where does that tax money go then? Oh, it goes upwards, doesn't it? Right? So we're spending our money in other countries. We're giving those countries and those specific people that have been selected on preferred supplier lists to have those jobs as well. So really, we need to be looking, and I said this about 8 months ago. We need to be looking at everything that we export, and every country should do this, because if everyone makes and manufacturers and from within, obviously you can't do not certain things. That's not going to be possible. But there is a whole heap of things that we could be making here, which would create supply and demand and create jobs and create money and wealth within this country, and the same in other countries. Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we even still buying stuff from China if there's any kind of, with the Uyghur Muslims and the, all of that slave labor? We are, by buying anything that is from there, you are willingly, knowingly partaking in slave labor. Just from one. Two, we've got the brains, the people, the technology, the space to make the majority of things that we outsource. And outsourcing just is giving governments money that they do not spend on us. They're taxed. Import-export tax. That money isn't going on anyone. So, and people say, oh, yeah, but it's more expensive. Well, fine. Pay people a little bit more. Charge a bit more. See what I'm saying? So pay people a little bit more to make it here. Charge a bit more, because obviously you've got to pay for the materials, maybe, unless you can already make it here. We should be aiming for that circle, that that cycle within each individual country should be trying to achieve that, because it will create more jobs and more money within the country for itself. Other than, maybe the base materials that you might need to trade. And the fact of the matter is, people will pay more for a product that is made within its own when it's made within your own country, by your own, particularly now. Yeah, when everyone's on their knees in terms of jobs and stuff. If we can start, because there's funding available for new businesses to start up, whether that be funding circle, there's loads of government loans, there's the thingy trust, Prince's Trust for under, and that's if you even need that money, because there's other businesses that you can start that don't even need upfront money like that. But so that's if you want to do manufacturing. We should bring back textiles. Oh yeah, here we go. I just had this, like old school with the, we were spinning with the cotton and that, like making textiles. There was a program that was on Channel 4 ages ago with a woman that made knickers. Sorry, what's her name? Something Porter. I really apologise, because I like her as well. Because we used to have a textiles industry. But then everyone outsourced it to China, right? Because they're using slave labor. No, I'd rather pay a bit more money for my knickers, knowing that it's supporting jobs and manufacturing here, and the same wherever in whatever country you're in. I'm sure, because everyone would have a job and everyone would have money, and everyone therefore would be able to pay that little bit extra for a pair of knickers from their own country. It's just on a knickers level, knick-knocks. But you can do it in anything. We should take pride in our creativity and our ability and our we've got all these skills. Why aren't we using them? Like, it's pottery, anything that's creative we should be doing more of, frankly. Like pottery, glass blowing, china making, ironmongering, wood, crafty stuff. There's a program on TV called Money for Nothing. And this lady goes to the tip. So when people arrive in their cars, she's there ready to pounce. And they come out. Sometimes people just take stuff that's actually perfectly good, but they haven't got anywhere to put it and they bought something new. Right? So she picks up like stuff that is already pretty decent anyway, but then she'll go away, because she'll say to them like, oh, can I, rather than you put it in the tip, can I have it? And what I'll do is I'm going to, maybe jazz it up a bit and I'll sell it and then I'll bring you any profit. And she makes profit every single time. She might just, like, if it's an old sofa, she'll reupholster it. Or, she might do something completely different. Like the other day, she had a chest of drawers and she took the drawers out and went to a guy who is like a joiner. And they put wood on the top and the bottom and made like a dresser table. So the actual frame from the original drawers she didn't use, but they made a 4-drawer dresser table. She sold that for like 400 quid online. Like, seriously. Not only that, let's get on to antiques, right? We should be antiquing. Right, if you've ever watched, that's history. Do you know what I mean? I love watching these programs on like Salvage Hunters and there's like porn stars, pawn brokers, that kind of thing. And what's the one with the shutters? You know what I mean? Oh, maybe that is Salvage Hunters, is it? Where you get the little storage units that haven't that have not been like collected or whatever, and then after a certain amount of time they put them up for auction. Like, brilliant, man. You know what I mean? There's money to be made everywhere. We just need to think a little bit differently and use our creativity. We've got it, every single one of us. You know what I mean? Art, sculpture. I wrote some other things down. Get into trades. Like, a plumber is never out of work. Electrician is never out of work. You know what I mean? You can earn 100 grand a year if you want to. Gas safety. All of these things. Yeah. There's just so many things. Everything I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God, I've got an idea for that. What's the other? There was another thing as well. It just came up to me. Oh yeah. Army. Civil servants. So Army, Navy, RAF, Marines, any kind of, yeah. I was watching Homes Under the Hammer, it's called. Homes Under Hammer, right? And there was a lady there that was in the RAF. Oh, she's out of the RAF now. But when she was in the RAF, because you have a you'll have a good credit rating and a steady pay, right? What she did was she, over the years, bought eight properties, buy-to-let properties. So by the time she retires, she's got a property portfolio. You know what I mean? And she did them like she didn't buy like total wrecks because obviously you don't have the time. But I mean, it's just an idea. Like, or every single one of you could be a property mogul but if you you know what I mean. If you wanted to, because I know a lot of people, you know, there's veterans that are forgotten about and out on the street, and I just don't understand how anyone can let that happen to someone who's served their country. It's not right either. So many things that are not right. All can be fixed though. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah. So I've got a real there's one of my favorite game. I'm into game shows at the minute. And there's a one called House of Cards. It's very funny. But this is how like the universe is constantly calling. Okay. So I'm watching it, and they did there's four contestants, and they did a you know, like, oh, this is the scores, kind of scores on the doors, and it was, for some reason it just jumped out at me. It was 7767, right? I just thought I'm going to research that. I don't know why, I just had a feeling to. So I searched 7767, and there's a piece of there's a biological genomic study about, and it references 7767. So I clicked in it, and it is about a genetic what's the word? It suppresses cancer replicating, you know, cells. Like it's on a where is it? We've got it open here. I'm going to find it and I'll put the link in here. This is from a global research body where researchers put their results. And this specific one, 7767, is in relation to a discovery of a genetic, I think it was called Fingerprint. It stops the bit of the gene that replicates to make leukemia. The point is that exists. Not only does it exist, but that is how to the universe is that I can't explain it. Like there's no, you know what I mean? I'm watching the TV, 7767 jumps out at me, so I research it. First thing that comes up is a link to a biological study whereby it proves that there is something that inhibits cancer replicating. You know, cells that replicate the cancer. There is something that exists that stops it. And why is that not widely known? Why is that not widely available? This is how they're fucking with us. They have access. There are so many there are so many drugs pending, and I'm not a fan of drugs anyway. This is more for people that are already very seriously ill, that these might help in the short term, because it's going to take a long time for people to change from that old way, i.e. continuing to accept poisoning ourselves with these chemicals without question, because you trust them because they are a doctor, and they aren't questioning it either. They're following guidelines. But ultimately, there is an alternative that is natural and healthy, and if followed, you wouldn't need them. You wouldn't need these. We would not need them. They're making us think that we need them because it's money making. They're profiteering off our illness. And this is exactly what is happening right now with these vaccines. It is a money making machine. Because there is no logical, scientific, you know what I mean, reason, if 99% of people recover, to force everyone to have a vaccine. There isn't. And the just looking at the numbers, to go back to the numbers, just check the numbers, just do the math. I'll just check it now. Hold on. Today's number. Yeah. Remember, there's 66.6 million. Oh my gosh, look, worldwide. So there's 7.5 billion people worldwide, 2 million deaths. And don't give 2 million is a lot. It is 2 million more than we should have. But there is also 35 million other deaths that haven't been mentioned from other diseases. So on that basis, then we should be talking about all of them all at the same time. But we're not, and we're not treating those ones either. We're not treating those 35 million. We haven't treated them. All of those diseases there, all of those illnesses, all of those people that are suffering right now in pain at home, they're not being treated for their cancers and their heart diseases and their strokes, and these people are not being treated. So, like, I just can't live with that. Like, that just doesn't sit right with me. Shouldn't sit right with anyone. So, we need to. I know I keep saying it. I know. I think I need to. Oh, sorry. Just before I go, one more thing. In fact, two more things. One is, everyone, just remember, everyone should get whatever you think about masks, forget for just for a second. Get one anyway. Keep it safely sealed in a box, because that fucking thing there is going to make you a mint in 50 years' time, isn't it? Think about all the old like war memorabilia, Spanish flu from 17. Yeah? Forward thinking. Get a selection, put them safely in a box, do not open until 2080. Do you know what I mean? At least make money. Look, this is gonna end. I promise you that now. It's gonna be a bad dream. We are going to make sure that all of the lives that have been lost are remembered properly, and respected, and justice is done. But yeah, if you want to make money in the future, there's an idea there. And another one that I was going back to antiquing. We should be inspiring the kids to start collecting. Because I heard the other day that somebody sold like a Pokemon card and it was worth like $1 million or something. That's insane. Get them into collecting something, so it just gives something to research and know everything about. You know what I mean? Maybe one day they can go on Mastermind. Today, my chosen topic is Pokemon cards. Or something, I don't know. Yeah. So I love you lots. Sending big hugs. Sorry I'm a scatterbrain. And no fear, none, no need. Love you.